Scottish squad for the Rugby World Cup, folks, is out. Apologies, it's been out for a couple of days now, and I am just kind of belatedly getting to it now. Interestingly, though, first impressions of the Scottish squad is it's pretty stable. It's not like, the kind of Eddie Jones burn it all down at the last minute kind of squad naming. It's pretty stable. There's obviously a few calls that have had to be made, but that's the deal when you have to bring a squad down to 33 guys. But yeah, we'll go through it pretty quick, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how these guys are going to go in what is a pretty competitive looking Pool B at the Rugby World Cup. Ashman, Cherry and Turner are the three hookers. Obviously, McAnally is the big omission there. One cap shy of 50, 33 years old, about to retire from the game. Would have been a nice swan song for him. Not to be, unless there's an injury. He's going to be next cab off the rank, but yeah, Ashman's actually one of the youngest forwards in the squad at 23. But I got to admit, like, Dave Cherry over the years, man, he's been kind of just solidly plugging away, and I don't mind having him in the squad. But yeah, even if he is maybe the third choice behind Ashman and Turner, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But yeah, I think you'd be pretty happy with that, even if you'd be disappointed for McAnally. Bhatti, Fagerson, Zander, Nell, Schoeman, Sebastian, and Sutherland. Those are your props. Now, Fagerson obviously is going to need to keep his nose clean because his discipline still is an issue, with that red card being a kind of clear example. Although I think the scrum is a little bit in kind of safer hands when he is there. Nell at 37 is the oldest member of the squad, and you would kind of question if Fagerson were to go off early in any game because he got carded, would Nell be able to go 70 odd minutes? Pierre Schoeman's a bit of a beast. Rory Sutherland, he's unattached at the moment. It's weird he doesn't have a club, but he's been there or thereabouts for quite a long time. But yeah, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Ideally, I think you got Fagerson not getting carded and playing the majority of the game time with Nell, maybe doing 20 odd minutes. Sebastian is there as well, but yeah, I seem to remember, was it one of the games recently where he came on and the scrum was under the pump a wee bit against France? But anyway, we'll see how they go up front. Cummings, Gilchrist, Gray, and Skinner, those are your locks. I'm gutted for Johnny Gray. Like, he's had a knee injury for so long. He was never in consideration, but he is genuinely one of my favourite locks in World Rugby. The absolute tackling machine beast of a player that is Johnny Gray. But his brother Richie's going to be there. And the other guys have kind of just been stalwarts for Scottish Rugby. They've been there for such a long time. Cameron Henderson was one of the guys who was in the initial kind of 40-odd man squad, but he's not made the cut, and it does make sense. Crosbie, Darge, Dempsey, Fagerson, that's Matt, Ritchie, and Watson. Your back rowers, Jamie Ritchie is captain. Good to see him kind of back fit after also spending a bit of time on the sidelines. I think Rory Darge is another one of the youngest guys in the squad at 23. He has given Hamish Watson a big-time run for his money for the open side jersey. I think whichever one you pick, you're going to get good value out of. At the moment, there's genuinely a good battle between him and Darge and Watson for 7, and then even maybe Dempsey and Matt Fagerson for number 8, assuming Jamie Ritchie's fit and maybe occupying the 6th jersey, but even he can be shifted to 7. Luke Crosbie is maybe the lowest guy in the pecking order there, but I'm not sure. I do feel like Hamish Watson has maybe... Like, I love Hamish Watson. Again, I mean, I picked him in the year before he got selected for the Lions. I picked him in my Six Nations team of the tournament. People like, Hamish Watson, what are you kidding? Tom Curry's the man. But I was like, no, Hamish Watson's great. From then till now, not sure he's quite at that same level. But he is 31, so, age catches up with everybody. 29 is the average age of the forwards. Josh Bayless is probably the other guy to miss out in the old loose forwards. But yeah, it's a pretty balanced forward pack, man. You got lots of good choices in the loose, solid choices in the second row. As I said, I missed Johnny Gray. Zander Fagerson with the discipline thing maybe gets exaggerated a little bit, but sometimes it just lets him down a wee bit. And McAnally's omission is obviously disappointing. Backs, Horn, Price, and Ben White are your halfbacks. Still a little bit of an injury cloud around Ben White after kind of hobbling off in that warm-up game, but he's still named in the squad, so they obviously think he's fit. I hope he is, because he probably seems to be the kind of premier guy at the moment, doesn't he? Certainly a live wire when he decides to carry. You got Ben Healy and Finn Russell as your 2 10s. So there is notably no spot for Adam Hastings, but he's another guy who's been kind of plagued with injury of late. He would have been, 12, 18 months ago, an absolute lock-in for that Scottish squad, but not to be. He's been surpassed by 2 test Ben Healy. Is it 2 or 3 now? But either way, he's kind of been fast-tracked into the Scottish squad since deciding to leave Irish rugby and head over to Scotland. Midfielders, Chris Harris, Hugh Jones, Redpath, and Tui Pulotu. The kind of Hugh Jones, Tui Pulotu combo has been a pretty impressive one. It seems to have sent Chris Harris slightly down the pecking order, and he's another one who seemed to kind of have his position locked in, and maybe just like Hamish Watson. I mean, he's 32 years old now, a little bit older than Hamish Watson, but just one of those ones where sometimes the young guns come in and take your spot. But certainly one of the best defensive midfielders in World Rugby, but he's the oldest guy in the back line. It's a pretty young back line at like 27. So, yeah, I mean, it's not hugely younger than the forwards, but it's certainly one of the younger back lines out there. Outside backs, Darcy Graham, Carl Steyn, Duan van der Merwe, Blair Kinghorn, and Ollie Smith. Obviously no Stuart Hogg because he's retired before the World Cup. He's going to be a big omission, but honestly, among the outside backs, you've got some of the biggest game breakers in the game. I mean, the combo of Darcy Graham and Duan van der Merwe are somehow, I still think, a little bit kind of underrated. Like, Darcy Graham's try-scoring proficiency is incredible. He busts tackles like a demon. And we all know that Big Duhan is Big Duhan. And at 28, he's pretty much at the peak of his powers. It's only slower and older from here, I think. But, yeah, I mean, even Carl Steyn, when he came on, looks just like very efficient when he scored his couple of tries against France. Ollie Smith at 15. If he gets a crack, he's the youngest guy in the back line at 23. I think he might be the youngest guy in the entire squad. Blair Kinghorn, with Hogg's kind of retirement, sees him maybe shift back to fullback more than 10, which is pretty pleasing. Obviously, he'd be the third choice 10 in that squad, I would imagine, but he's better at fullback, isn't he? So, yeah. I mean, Kyle Rowe was also cut from the squad, so was Jamie Dobby, but ultimately, man, the guys who missed out in McAnally and Hastings are probably the 2 biggest calls. Hogg's retired, Johnny Gray's injured. It seems pretty stable. It doesn't seem like there's any kind of real kind of bolting changes, like, head-scratching omissions. It seems pretty stable. One more warm-up game against Georgia for the Scots to go. That's on the 27th, I believe, or is it 26th? It's late August. Anyway, and then immediately into the deep end, that game against South Africa is just going to be one of the biggest games of the pool stages. That pool is incredible. Then Tonga. Now, Tonga, with all those kind of change of allegiance players that have shifted from like the Wallabies and All Blacks to Tonga, seem on paper to be a bit of a threat, but to be honest, their performances in the Pacific Nations Cup against the likes of Samoa and Japan and Fiji have been a wee bit, I don't want to say disappointing, but they've maybe not lived up to the hype. So Scotland should win that one, but you never know. Tonga might click between now and then. Romania as well. Romania got a hiding by Georgia the other day, so that should be the game where absolutely the entire side gets shifted. Anyone who hasn't had a game should get a game. And then potentially a must-win game against Ireland, depending on what happens with the South Africa game. Obviously, you go out to win them all, but it's kind of bookended by that South Africa and Ireland fixtures, isn't it? So, yeah, that's the Scottish squad, folks. Remember, if you want to get yourself some rugby gear, including Scotland, Chile, or some of the other kind of potentially lesser known rugby teams that are out there, check out Level Rugby down in the description. They're an affiliate of the channel, got loads of gear for sale in the build up to the World Cup. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on how Scotland are going to go at the World Cup, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.